His strength for each one of us. Thank you for your presence and undivided attention. You're welcome.
Prayer, Danielle Hall, will be followed by a song, Somebody's Knocking at Your Door by the Clock. May we all stand and bow our heads for the prayer. Heavenly Father, Thou who art our Creator and our God, we thank Thee for all the blessings Thou hast bestowed upon us. Direct our ways and make us to abound in love one toward another. Consecrate us to Thy service of love and peace for all mankind. Amen. life of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We would like to take the time out to recognize the importance of his life and how it has affected our lives and will continue to affect our lives in the years to come. Our Future Homemakers of America organization decided to do this program for the first time last year, and it was such a success that we decided to try and have another program this year. Dr. King has so much to offer the people of our world, and we hope that this program will educate and inspire you in your lives. Thank you. At this time, we have a tribute to Dr. King's life by Tammy Paradise, followed by a song, Excellent, by the choir.
Martin Luther King was born January 15, 1929. By the time he was 18, he was ordained as an assistant pastor at Ebenezer Church in Atlanta. In 1953, he married Coretta. To better understand Mahatma Gandhi's nonviolent philosophy, he and his wife traveled to India. After study, he realized that he had to devote full-time and effort to the civil rights struggle. After his study, he had realized he had to devote full-time and effort to the civil rights struggle. In August 1963, Martin gave his famous I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. So remembrance of Martin Luther King, I dedicate these words. Free at last, free at last. I thank God I'm free at last. Free at last, free at last. I thank God I'm free at last. Way down yonder in the graveyard walk, I thank God I'm free at last. Me and my Jesus going to meet and talk. I thank God I'm free at last. On my knees, going to meet Jesus. I thank God I'm free at last. Some of these mornings bright and fair. I thank God I'm free at last. Going to meet Jesus in the middle of the air. I thank God I'm free at last.
speaker for today will be Reverend George Carver Bannon. He is a 1985 graduate of Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, where he received his BA degree in religion and banking finance. While enrolled at Morehouse College, he was a member of the Chapel Assistant Program, Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel, and Martin Luther King Jr. International Board of Preachers of Morehouse College. He was also the director of the Danforth Chapel Worship Services. He is the former pastor of Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, Tuskegee, Alabama. He now serves as the pastor of St. James Baptist Church of Overland, Alabama. His religious affiliations include president of the Auburn District Minister Conference, vice president of the Lee County Interdenominational Minister Alliance, and the instructor of the Auburn District Baptist Sunday School and Baptist Training Union Congress. Reverend Bannon is also the member of the Lee County Commission, District Number 5, the former president of Pro Tem of Overland City Council, where he served 2 terms. He is the president of the Concerned Citizens of Lee County. He is a member of the Lee County Voters League, the Lee County chairman of LCLC Job Justice Campaign, and he is also the president of Lee County Alliance. At this time, I will present to some and introduce to others Reverend George C. Bannon.
Thankful for my introduction to Hannah, Ernie, other members of faculty, student staff, to all the student body. Certainly I am delighted to be here to share with you celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For a long time, I'll try to keep in line with your theme that you said you come too far to turn back now. However, I have the subject of violence, what I have been taught, violating the rules of homiletics. Quite lengthy. So I'll ask that you bear with me as I take a look at the book of Genesis. It's just customary for a Baptist preacher to take what we call a text. So I ask that you bear with me if you would as I read to you from the Old Testament. I'll just read a couple of verses from the 37th chapter of Genesis. There are others, but I trust and pray that this will be sufficient. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brother, and they hated him yet the more. He said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheep arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheep stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheep. I'll just end the reading there, and I want to talk with you on this long subject. Allow me to. Remembering the dream, surviving the nightmare, preparing for the fulfillment of the dream. Whenever you see any noble and worthy project reaching the stage of completion, whether it is a physical structure, social program, or some revolutionary movement, when you see it reaching fruition, when you see it maturing, when you see it blooming and coming into its own, you can be assured that it is the fulfillment of someone's dream. Whenever you see good things happen, whenever you see antiquated barrels of narrow-mindedness being dismantled. Whenever you see progress being made, it is indicative of the fact that somebody's dream has come true. Great movements don't just spring up out of nowhere. They began with a dream. Skyscrapers don't just fall out of the sky and place themselves in downtown areas of our large cities. They began with somebody's dream. I mention to say that every noble, worthy, and progressive movement can be traced back to some divinely inspired dream. The progress of any entity, whether it is a local church or nation, the progress it makes and the success it achieves will be contingent upon whether or not anyone dares to dream. No organization will make progress unless someone dares to dream. But you know, dreaming is a dangerous enterprise. It is a risky business. The fact that dreamers are in the minority and sound sleepers are in the majority keep dreamers in hot water. While sound sleepers are resting, snoring, relaxing, and enjoying the comfort of what is, dreamers are wrestling with the ideas concerning what ought to be. While sound sleepers are apathetic, complacent, unconcerned, and completely satisfied with the status quo, dreamers are struggling with new concepts which will result in a better society. While sound sleepers feel very secure in what's going on today, dreamers are exploring the new frontiers which will provide for a better tomorrow. And because of this constant restlessness, because of this perpetual dissatisfaction with the status quo, and because of this insatiable, this thirst for improvement, and because of this unrelenting desire to move ahead, dreamers quite frequently find themselves in trouble. And in many instances, they find their sweet dreams erupting into horrible nightmares. Many times, a beautiful and gratifying dream erupts into a seemingly unbearable nightmare. You know, this is true as it relates to our physical dream. You can fall asleep on your side with your face down. And in a short while, you find yourself in the midst of a pleasant dream. You can see yourself strolling gently through your flower garden with your French poodle walking by your side. And you don't seem to have a care in the world when all of a sudden, through no conscious effort on your part, you change positions and began lying on your back. And when this happens, your dream becomes a nightmare. That beautiful flower garden becomes a scary jungle. That lovable French poodle becomes a mean, ferocious pit bull. Instead of strolling gently, you began running swiftly. And instead of your poodle walking beside you, the pit bull is chasing after you. That experience which began as a sweet dream allowed you to get flat on your back. And all of a sudden, it erupted into a horrible nightmare. So it is with those who dare to dream of a better society. So it is with those who dare to dream of justice, equality, and first-class citizenship for all Americans. Those persons who do not share your dream and who would be made to feel insecure should your dream come true. will sometimes do all within their power to turn your dream into a nightmare. It happened in Old Testament time with Joseph. Joseph's father loved him. He seemed to care a little bit more for Joseph than the other brothers. Gave him a beautiful multicolored coat. And Joseph wore that coat one day into the company of his brothers. And when he got there, his brothers were filled with envy and jealousy because his father seemed to favor Joseph and because of his multicolored coat. And to top all of that off, Joseph began to tell them about this dream that he had. And right away, these brothers, filled with envy and jealousy, began a Stop Joseph movement. And they sold Joseph off into slavery in an attempt to abort his dream. So I tell you, brothers and sisters, dreaming is dangerous business. But the final outcome was that Joseph went out into Egypt and he became the number 2 man in Egypt. You can say in modern terminology that he became the Secretary of Agriculture. And these men had to go down, his brothers had to go down to Egypt and had to bow before Joseph as the customs were in order to get some grain. So Joseph's dream came true some 12 years later. They were trying to turn it into a nightmare by selling him off into slavery. And as I think of dreams being followed by a nightmare, I am reminded of that great 20th century prophet, the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a dreamer of the finest sort. In August of 1963, he stood in the front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and articulated his dream in some of the most eloquent and profound words ever spoken by human lips. Dr. King said, "I have a dream that one day America will live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will sit down at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream," he said, "that one day little white girls and little white boys will be able to join hands with little black girls and little black boys as sisters and brothers." He said, "I have a dream." And on he continued there. That day in August 1963, he stirred the crowd. And needless to say, how the bigots and the racists responded to that dream. They said, in essence, ain't no way that will ever happen. We are going to turn your dream into a nightmare. The die-hard segregationists organized and took some drastic steps to turn King's dream into a nightmare. All over the Deep South, acts of violence erupted in an attempt to turn King's dream into a nightmare. In Mississippi, churches were burned. In Georgia, axe handles were passed to white customers so that they could beat black customers. In Alabama, police dogs and fire hoses were employed to keep blacks away from the voting precinct. All of these acts of violence were blatant attempts to turn King's dream into a nightmare. And finally, in 1968, when hatred seemed to reach its highest peak, the framers of the Stop King movement decided to put King flat on his back so that he would be sure to have a nightmare. So on April the 4th, 1968, that year which forever lives in infamy, the dreamer was killed in Memphis, Tennessee, while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel. Martin Luther King Jr., the leader of the Montgomery bus boycott, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, the most powerful and articulate spokesman for civil rights this nation has ever produced. Yes, Martin Luther King Jr. was put flat on his back by an assassin's bullet. Somehow the enemies of freedom felt that by killing the dreamer, they could kill the dream. But what they didn't know was that God was in King's dream. God had carried King to the mountain and had shown him the promised land. So even though they stopped the dream, they couldn't stop the dream. Dreams are like albums. Sometimes they'll rearrange themselves in another dream. I realize that there are some signs of progress today, and I realize that there is a gradual awakening taking place in some pocket areas. I know that we have a public accommodations bill, a voting rights act, a fair housing bill, but when a large segment of the black community cannot afford the price of a motel room and cannot afford to buy a house in the suburbs, and when on election day our only choice is the lesser of two evils, I said that the nightmare is still going on. I realize that we have black men in mayor's offices in Philadelphia, in Detroit, Gary, Birmingham, Atlanta, Los Angeles, even in New York City, the governor of Virginia. I realize that such advances as these can be labeled as partial fulfillment of King's dream. But when the downtown areas of these large cities are becoming asphalt jungles, when the street corners are lined with pimps and prostitutes, when cocaine and crack are being widely consumed all the way from the executive offices to the classroom of elementary school, I said that the nightmare is still in progress. And what makes it so tragic is that there is a growing number of persons who would like to see the nightmare continue. Well, brothers and sisters, you know I have hope for tomorrow, and I trust and pray that you have hope for tomorrow. Well, we're going to survive the nightmare. I just hope and pray that when the nightmare is over, we won't forget the God who sustained us through the nightmare. It is my hope and prayer that when the dream is fulfilled, and when we get to the promised land of justice, equality, and first-class citizenship, we won't forget the God who brought us through the wilderness. And as we move into suburbia, we must not forget the God who was with us in the ghetto. As we move to the sunny side of the street, we must not forget the God who was with us and sustained us when we was living on the other side of the track. As we move into our split-level mansion, we must not forget the God who kept our slave four-panels in one-room slave huts. As we cruise down the boulevard in our luxurious limousine, we must not forget the God who gave our grandfathers the energy and the strength to spend all day from sunup to sundown, walking behind a mule. I said, as we sit in the elegant dining room and feast upon prime rib and filet of sole, we must not forget the God who energized us with pig knuckles, sour belly, and black-eyed peas. As we stroll through our walk-in closets and choose our wearing apparel from an assortment of silk, satin, suede, mohair, mink, we must not forget the God who kept us when our Sunday garments were some hand-me-down faded clothes from some older brother or sister, some neighbor in the community. Our dream will come true, but when it is fulfilled, we must not forget the God who helped us to survive the nightmare. Well, you may be wondering why I'm so optimistic about the future. You may be wondering how I can talk about preparing for the fulfillment while the nightmare is still in progress. Well, I tell you how I can be so optimistic. You see, I serve a God who specializes in turning nightmare into the fulfillment of dreams. If you don't believe me, ask Moses and the Israelites. The Red Sea was an uncrossable nightmare. But there were mountains on the right and mountains on the left. dream come true. The lion's den was a nightmare for Daniel. He was thrown in there supposedly to be the evening meal for a bunch of hungry lions. But when God locked the jaws of those lions and those ferocious beasts became domesticated pets, what had begun as a nightmare had turned into sweet dreams. And I can go on and on. Calvary was a nightmare. I said that Calvary and everything that went with it was meant to be a nightmare. Nails being driven through the hands of Jesus, a crown of thorns on that sacred head, a spear being pierced into the blessed side. All of those things which happened on Friday constituted a horrible nightmare. But I'm glad that the story doesn't end on Friday. Friday was a nightmare, but Sunday morning was a dream come true. The crucifixion was indeed a nightmare, but the resurrection was a dream come true. So I say to you, fulfill the dream here in Loachapoka. If you have a hard way to go, walk it by faith. If you have misunderstanding, work with it until you're set. If you have a problem, solve it. If you have raised prejudice, shake it off. If you have a devil, drive him out. If you have a mountain, climb it. If you have, I tell you, a cross, bear it. And if it kills you, get up and step over death and keep on living. For Jesus Christ said that I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he was dead, yet shall he live. I said, take everything that God has for you and just don't forget to give thanks. And we can fulfill the dream. Oh, I tell you today, I wish I could thank him in 1,000 tongues. If I was a Chinese, I would say, oh dear. If I was Scandinavian, I would say Toxamica. If I was Hebrew, I would say Yah. If I was Greek, I would say Charis. If I was a German, I would say Donkey Sean. If I was a Frenchman, I would say Merci beaucoup. If I was a Spaniard, I would say Muchas gracias. If I was a Russian, I would say Spasibo. But since I am who I am, and I know who I know, I said thank you. Thank you, Jesus, for my journey. You brought me from a mighty long way.
just like you said, you'll make everything alright. Yeah, I'm being changed. Yeah. You set me free. On taking away for me.
Yes, you do.
On making away for me. Making away.
Yes, you do.
On making
Oh,
away.
you're making a way.
On making away. On making away. On
Yes, you
making
do.
away.
You're making a way.
On making away for me.
I don't even know where to start, but you all know that once I get started, I'll be on the road. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all my co-workers, my teachers, and my support staff that took time out to help us get this program together. I know that anytime you have a program of this sort, it proves to be an inconvenience because you have to pull students here and there and everywhere. But it worked out just fine, and we appreciate your cooperation. I would like to thank Mr. Irvin for his constant support and for helping us get things together and always being there when I needed to have something done. I would like to thank Mrs. Hickman, better known as Miss Burrell, but Mrs. Hickman. I've got a special thank you for her because during the first of the week I had some things to go on in my life and I was not able to be here. And I called her and I said, Miss Burrell, I cannot be there. Can you just pull the choir together and go with whatever you think is best? And I think that she did a fantastic job, and I would like for you all to give her a round of applause. I would like to thank the students who chose to participate in the choir. I'm going to have them to stand. The females are FHA members, and the males are recruits that the FHA girls recruited to sing with us. And we do all stand. I'd like to thank my right arm who's always there for me. I had to call him also and say, I'm not going to be there. He said, don't worry about it. I got everything under control. And as usual, he had everything under control, Mr. Salter. For any names that I missed as far as Loachapoka High is concerned, I would like to thank you. There is another name, Miss Garlington. I don't want to forget her. She helped get my program together and get it right off, and it looks beautiful on the red paper, and I appreciate that. Last year was the first year that we did the Martin Luther King Day program, and it was a great success. And as I was walking down the hall, students were coming asking, are we going to do it again next year? Are we going to do it again next year? And that was the best comments that I could hear for them to ask for it again. And it just worked out that we were able to have it again, and we had another fantastic speaker. And I cannot say how grateful I am to Reverend Vandy for taking time out of his busy schedule to come and speak before us today. And he did such an eloquent job, and I'd like for you all to give him another hand. FHA is the organization, Future Homemakers of America. It's the youth organization that's handled through the Home Economics Department. And I've got to say that my 2.5 years here at Loachapoka have been fantastic as far as working with FHA. We've been able to do a lot of great and fantastic things. And I've got some girls who are eager and willing to do things. I mean, they nag and fuss and Miss Rapper, you want everything so perfect, but I do. But we always come out on top, and I just want to recognize my lovely FHA ladies. And I want them all to stand, and then I'll recognize the officers. Our 1991-92 officers, if you other ladies would take a seat, my officers would just re-stand, please. Virginia Turkle did a beautiful job as our mistress of ceremony, is our president. Latasha Reese in the black and white is our vice president. Michelle Washington is our secretary who did a fantastic job with the purple. Yolanda Willis is our treasurer. Cassandra Porter, who did a beautiful job introducing Reverend Bandy, is our sergeant at arms, and we do need one of those. And last but certainly not least is Trish Wimberly, who's our hospitality chairperson. I'd also like to thank the ladies that participated on the program and the gentlemen. Tommy Paradise, if you please stand. Tommy Paradise is one of our prime students here at Loachapoka High, and he is not a FHA member, but he was a drama student. I think he did a fantastic job with the tribute to Dr. King's life. Would you all give him another hand? My thanks and appreciation go out to the other ladies who did such a beautiful job on the program. You all were great, and it was worth every minute that I fussed at you. Don't you think so? Okay, I know you all think I've forgotten somebody, but I always work down, and we always just go down from the, not the least important to the most important, but the people that you got the face and the ones that sign your check and all that get to be a little bit more important than some of these other people. That's just life. I'd like to thank the Lee County staff that chose to take time out of their schedule to come. Mr. Painter, Mr. Burdell, at Funderburg, out of their busy schedule to come and be with us again this year on our Martin Luther King Day program. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Elfa White. Mrs. Elfa White serves as one of my advisory committee members for the Home Economics Department. I'd like to thank you for coming. I'd like to thank Sergeant Rochelle, who's here. He also serves on my advisory committee, and he's also the Army recruiter for Loachapoka High. I'd like to thank Mr. William White from the Opelika Auburn newspaper, who comes and he did a fantastic article on our program last year, and we're looking for the same thing this year. And then finally, well, I said that you always say the one that you got to live with the last, and that's my lovely husband, Ralph Pratt. Okay, you all got your shuffle now. I don't want to neglect and fail to recognize. I realize that we have some parents and some other relatives in the audience. If you all would please stand, and we truly, truly appreciate you all coming out to support your student and the organization as a whole. With your parents stand, please. Last year when I got up, Mr. Irvin got up and said that I said everything, so I'm not going to say anything else except that you all were fantastic as an audience. I love you all, and I know that you love me, even though you think I'm that wicked witch from the West. Where did she come from? But I'm wicked because I want you to be the very best that you can be, and I know that you can, and I know that you will. You just get your head screwed on right. And in my closing, I want to leave this little thought with you. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Thank you very much. I do have one other thing to say. I apologize. To our special guests, we would like, as soon as Mr. Irvin gives his comments, I'll have one of my FHA
FJ girls escort you to the home economics department for some refreshments.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Radford. I have one thing to say to Mrs. Radford. She did the same thing wrong that she did last year. But as always, we're certainly glad to have her. And please don't be concerned about the bells. You're going to get your breaks, so just kind of hang on. I would just like to express my appreciation to Reverend Danby for doing such a magnificent job. And as I say often to you, I only hope that you were listening. It is good to have programs like this, but one of the main reasons that we have these programs is for you to listen and learn and grow from what you hear and what you become exposed to. Again, we are certainly appreciative to Reverend Bandy for coming. It is always good to have him in our midst, and we are very fortunate for that. I would like to give him an honor that he and I have not talked about lately, because we don't see much of each other now, and that is, some of you in the audience may not know this, but a few months ago, the Lee County school system was really working in conjunction with our Lee County commissioners trying to get a sales tax levy. Reverend George Bandy, who is our representative on that commissioner's court, worked with us very, very diligently, and he worked with the Lee County Board of Education, board members, principals, faculty members, and I think we need to give Reverend Bandy a round of applause for helping make possible the sales tax that we are now realizing. I think I can speak some for Mr. Painter in reference to him having the opportunity this year to be able to do some planning by way of this sales tax money now that we have some direction to follow. The sales tax that have been levied thus far will be good until the year 1993. And at the end of that year, we will be able to go to the negotiation table with our commissioners, explain and prove to them that the money that will have come about for 2 years was spent properly, was spent in the fashion that we said it was going to be spent, and that if all goes well, we may be able to convince them that that money was well spent, well needed, and hopefully from that point on, we will be able to continue to work together. So we are very appreciative to Reverend Bandy for that. I would also like to say to Reverend Bandy at this time that we were very appreciative to him when he was a member of Opelika City Council. All of the things that he did to improve the conditions in that area were also things that helped improve conditions in our area, in our county outlying areas. Because it is impossible for you to improve an area that is so close proximity-wise and us not benefit from it. So we are very appreciative for his work on the city council in Opelika as well. I would also like to express my appreciation to Mr. Painter, Mr. Burdell, Mrs. White, Coach Radford, Sergeant Rochelle, Mr. White from the newspaper, for coming out, and Mrs. Funderburg from the central office, all of these people for coming down and taking time out of their schedule today to be with us. I am sure each one of them could have thought of several reasons for not coming this morning, but they saw fit, and they were concerned enough in our program and concerned enough with our school to take time out of their business schedules and come out with us today. So we're extremely appreciative for that. I would also like to echo one or two things that Mrs. Radford said, and that is, it is always appreciative to us for parents to come out and show their interest and concern in our programs as well. All right, before I dismiss you, I would like to give Mr. Painter, our superintendent, the opportunity at this time to come forward and make any comments he would like to make. Afterwards, I will dismiss you. Mr. Painter, please come forward. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity of being with you today, of being invited to this ceremony. It's a result of a lot of hard work of several people, and it's always done with class. I would like to take this forum today to announce something that's going to happen Thursday night that's has not been published to the board or the newspapers, anything like this. But one of the ceremonies, one of the activities that we're going to be doing the next few months is called like a think tank. And we're going to try to put together the goals and direction to try to keep moving the school system forward. It's kind of like Reverend Vandy said, we want to continuously decide between what is versus what ought to be and where we're going. One aspect of that, we're looking very seriously at trying to implement a very nonviolent principles and a nonviolent approach to our curriculum development that we have. I think it's time that we acknowledge some of the work, some of the examples, some of the ideals of Reverend Martin Luther King, Gandhi, even with looking within the legal aspect of things, but Jesus and those contexts of things. I think the courts were never meant for religion and schools to be totally opposite and diverse from one another. I think we've reached a time that we need to look at ways that people can come together for the betterment of our society, the betterment of people at large. And hopefully we will guide you and try to seek your input in that development and that activity. The other thing that Mr. Irvin elaborated on that I want to give full credit, Reverend Vandy led our delegation. It was unanimous choice of the Lee County Board of Education and the full committee that we dealt with to handle the implementation of our sales and use tax. And this was something that you talk about equality, you talk about challenges, you talk about trying to make a difference. And when you get out in the political world, it's very easy to be a politician. And those opportunities to become a statesman, you begin to see the real true nature and the true heart of the leaders that we have before us. Reverend Vandy led us for this year and next year, for the first time in the history of the Lee County school system, we have funds close to an equality basis as the other two school districts. And we're trying hard with your cooperation, with your support, and your input to try to show his faith and the commissioner's faith in us was something that was true and valid. And we will continue to work hard in the next couple of months, and we hope before the end of this school year to pass out maybe booklets called Phase 2 so that everyone knows how these funds are being utilized, and we're trying to get those to what we call the real importance of improving instruction and improving the lives of our teachers and students. So thank you, and again, thank you, Reverend Vandy, for your leadership that you've given.
Thank you very much, Mr. Painter, for those comments. Our visitors that are down front, if you would, this young lady will escort you to the refreshments area. Thank you so much again for coming. something together here now. All right, first of all, I am extremely appreciative to you for being so attentive this morning, and because of that, I am going to honor that by giving you an extended break this morning. Now, not a whole hour. Okay, just a minute. According to my watch, it is 10:15. 10:15. We will have, when you are dismissed from here, you may begin your break, and you will continue your break until 10:30, 10:35. Okay. All right. Just a minute. At 10:35 now, we are going to make an announcement just before we ring a bell. Listen, we're going to make an announcement just before we ring the bell at 10:35, and I want you to show me that you are just as appreciative to me for allowing you this extra time by getting to your next class on time. Okay, thank you very much.
Country.
Cutbacks continue. Crime, recession,
daycare, no time.
You never needed it more. 1,000 milligrams of pain relief for today.
That's the first thing that falls on my mind is my baby. That was my baby. And they took her life. The first time I went into that, it was, boy, the feeling that I got. It was like I really helped somebody. It helped me to deal with what has happened to me and to talk about it and learn to deal with it and come to grips. But it, in turn, helped somebody else, and that was the great feeling. That was the feeling that I needed to feel. You know, I couldn't help my child. Maybe I can help Mrs. Jones or the lady that I don't know or that lady I saw down the street. Maybe I can help her kid.
And she takes every opportunity she can to drive her point home.
See, you are out of control, you know, and this is why you got this rest, this break, before you kill yourself.
If it was my choice, I wouldn't be here, but I'm here, you know, and I'm thinking.
Clean it up. Turn it positive.
Turning it positive may be easier said than done. Statistics tell us more than half of the kids in juvenile facilities end up back in prison. Although there are no hard figures on the success rate of the victims program, the staff here at Nellis says they can see Charlotte is getting through to these young men.
I can go to my mother's house. I have nieces and nephews who are Jamie's age. And I go there, and you know how little girls at family gatherings, the little girls are playing and whatever, and doing their little, making up their dances and stuff. You have little sisters, you know what I'm talking about? I have to look in that crowd, and I don't see my baby. And she was the ringleader. She was the one that taught all the dances. She was the oldest. I don't see her nowhere. And that hurts. You know, they run in the house to show us their new steps. Everybody's child is running in there but mine.
It's reality. And anything that you can do to smack, dab, throw reality in their face, that's what they need to see. Reality.
Felicia Jones teaches here at Nellis and runs the victims program. What kind of impact does Charlotte have in a class like this?
Charlotte helps the boys to focus on the fact that they have victims and that they are victimizers. She helps them to understand that there is realistic pain because the boys have a way of depersonalizing their victims.
But you think she touched someone in there?
Most definitely.
At first, I didn't want to listen to it. You know, I didn't want to hear none of it.
Up until his arrest, Javier Carranza's life had been a violent one. Drug dealer, gang member. He'd spent 2.5 years at Nellis, but has been out now for nearly a year. He said Charlotte helped him turn his life around.
I probably would have got out and got involved with the same friends and probably went out and did a murder or something, you know, killed someone else from another gang. Not even being sure if they were from a gang, you know, just because they looked the way they looked. having her come talk to us, that just pushed me a little further and gave me that push to just stop right now.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Mark. Hi, Elma.
Charlotte seems to have boundless energy.
All right, this is on CPU 3. Do you know his desk unit?
In addition to the community work, she also has a full-time job as a customer service representative with a computer software company.
Go, 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 go!
She's a single mother with 2 other children, Darius, who's 6, and Corey, who's now 20.
Stay on, I'm not gonna let you fall.
Living in South Central with all of the gang violence, she's frightened for her boys all the time.
I don't think I could deal with another tragedy, not losing another child, you know.
The statistics in this part of Los Angeles for young black men to reach the age of 21 are not too good.
No. If they make it to 20, you're on first base, okay? You're kind of, the game is going now. If he can get to 25, we've made it to second base. If he can make it to 30, we've did a home run. He's made it.
All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
And her stepfather's made it to 67. Charlotte's family, 8 brothers and sisters, parents and grandparents, nieces and nephews, all have gathered to celebrate.
Oh, Grandpapa, hi! That's my honey. How you doing? Looking good, boy. Look at you.
How important is all of this family to her?
It's very important in terms of support.
Norma Johnson is a victim's advocate for the city of Los Angeles. She was assigned to Charlotte's case the night Jamie was murdered, and they've become close friends.
A lot of times when homicides happen, it breaks the family apart. I mean, it absolutely devastates the family. But Charlotte's family, because they have a certain kind of moral character, they have band together with her and they have supported her without a doubt through this whole crisis.
Like many families in South Central LA, they are no stranger to violent death. Several years ago, Charlotte's brother was shot to death, and her older son, Corey, saw 3 of his closest friends murdered. And of course, there was Jamie's murder.
I would like to just see her one more time, you know. Have her to run in and out with her boyfriend, her kid, her baby, her husband, or, you know, whatever. To see her, but I can't. And I feel lost without that little girl. I have some pictures that I wanted to pass around to you. These are pictures of Jamie when she was coming up. And this is reality. This is the last, okay? I had taken some pictures of Jamie in her casket, and I had those pictures almost a year. I never knew what I was gonna do with them, and I just knew one day something was gonna be done. I just kind of prayed and asked God to show me what he wants me to do.
When did you decide to take them to the prisons and show them to these boys?
The first day that I went out there, I knew this could help. The main thing I wanted to do and I want to accomplish is to get their attention and to make them listen and to show them that this is not the movies, you know. You won't see this person in the soaps or at the Academy Awards at the end of the year. She will never, ever get up again. This is the last.
What did you think of the pictures?
It hurt me to see something like that, you know, knowing that I was out doing something just like that, you know, but didn't even realize it.
Kenyon Brown is another young man that Charlotte reached. He was sent to Nellis when he was 14 and spent nearly 3 years there. He's been out now for over a year.
Is your life different today than it was then?
It's different because I don't have to worry about selling drugs and running from the police. I don't have to worry about getting killed and all that. It's a big difference when you can just sit at home and relax and go to work and go to school without worrying about getting shot at or something like that, you know.
Is there a temptation ever to go back to the old way of life?
Yes, it is. When a person gets out of any kind of jail, it's always going to be temptation for you, you know. But it's just up to you to resist the temptation, you know.
It's so easy to get into trouble. I just want to make you aware of what you do. Be conscious of what you do. Don't just do things to be doing them. You know, think about who you're gonna hurt. If you still
This is what I am supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be carrying a message to these young kids that this is not the way to live. This gang stuff, this violence, these guns, this whole thing ends up in nothing but pain. Right now, I think it's like everybody has a job, you know, and this is my job, and this is whatever little, however small it may seem to someone else, I see the result.
Since we shot this story, Charlotte Austin's 23-year-old cousin was shot 5 times, and her 21-year-old nephew was murdered by gang members.
I have Denorex on this side. As soon as I put Denorex on my hair, I felt like the itch was going away. The tingle feels like it's taken away the dandruff.
Denorex with conditioners, the dandruff shampoo you can feel working.
I have no dandruff, and I have no itch.
Good morning, and what can I get for you?
An Egg McMuffin and a medium coffee, please.
Is that for here to go?
To go. I'm meeting my daughter for breakfast.